What we could not get was a single Republican, including the 20 who had previously voted for comprehensive immigration reform, to step up and say, we will work with you to make this happen.
You promised that.
Sí.
And a promise is a promise. And with all due respect, but you didn't keep that promise.
So I am happy to take responsibility for the fact that we didn't get it done, but I did not make a promise that I would get everything done 100% when I was elected as president.
Univision anchor Jorge Ramos pressing the president during the campaign on immigration reform. He joins our roundtable right now, along with Republican Congressman Lou Barletta, our own Matthew Dowd, Paul Krugman of the New York Times in Princeton, and Carly Fiorina, former CEO of Hewlett-Packard. Let's begin with immigration. Jorge, you were very tough on the president during the campaign. He laid out his principles this week in Nevada. We also saw a bipartisan group of senators do the same thing. And Harry Reid, optimistic, are you?
I am. It's the first time I don't remember ever seeing the president and members of both parties rushing to beat the other to present an immigration proposal. I haven't seen that. It's the most important immigration news in the last 30 years, and especially because it includes a path to citizenship, and it is no amnesty.
On both sides, so
on
far.
both sides, yes. So there is no amnesty. They'll pay penalties. They'll pay taxes back. They'll go back to the end of the line, and it might take up to 10 to 15 years to become U.S. citizens. So it is definitely, it'll fulfill the promise of the Declaration of Independence.
The man not joining the bandwagon, sitting right next to you, Congressman
But
Barletta.
we're equal, either citizens or non-citizens. That's the promise of the Declaration of Independence. This is what it's going to achieve.
Let me explain to the audience where you come from, Congressman. You're from Pennsylvania, former mayor of Hazleton. When you were mayor there, you passed ordinances that would punish landlords who rented to illegal immigrants, punish employers who hired them, and you intend to fight this effort for immigration reform in the House.
Yeah, this is 1986 all over again, and that was at the time they told the American people this is one time only. 1.5 million illegal aliens would get amnesty, and it ended up being 3 million. The same thing will happen today, George, when we're offering a pathway to citizenship without knowing that we could secure our borders. To put it in simple terms, you wouldn't replace your carpet at home if you still had a hole in the roof. And that's what we're talking about. Anytime you start waving a carrot, such as American citizenship, without securing the borders, that number that we have today, I believe, will double or even
But how
triple.
do you answer that argument that the deportations have gone up, the number of people crossing our borders illegally has gone down?
Well, that's, we can argue about that all day long on whether or not this administration, I don't know how anyone could argue that this administration is serious about enforcing our laws when they're suing the state of Arizona because the federal government has caused the problem and Arizona wants to defend itself. As well as another example is the president's prosecutorial discretion, where he is prohibiting law enforcement agents from enforcing the law. In fact, there are ICE agents who are suing the administration.
Matthew Dowd, the congressman brings up 1986. Also in 2000, President George W. Bush's second term, he tried immigration reform, didn't get very far.
Well, I don't think the president, obviously, I worked for him then. The President Bush tried really that hard. He actually put much of his political weight behind Social Security reform, which turned out to be a disaster in the midst of that, and he didn't really push that. But he had a problem with his own party in that. President Bush had a problem with the Republican Party in that. The problem, I think, for Republicans is, and I've an Irish immigrant whose great-great-grandfather came over here, whether he was legal or not, when he was 17 years old, in the midst of a society that said no Irish need apply, is that America's always benefit economically and spiritually and morally from immigrants in this country. And we have a situation now, there's 52 million Latinos that live in this country. More than 40 million of them are here legally. Something has to be done. Republicans know this. Republicans know that if you put together a package of border control, of controlling the border, and a path to citizenship, it's going to happen. If Republicans don't do this, it's not as if Latinos say immigration is my top issue, the economy is their top issue. If they don't do this, Republicans could make themselves a minority party for the next generation.
Two things to say. One is that this is not, bear in mind what we're not going to do. We're not going to deport the people who are already here. We're not actually going to reverse this. The fact of immigration is going to happen. The question about what we're going to do about border controls, there's some of that in these proposals, but in any case, that's almost a separate issue. The question is one of regularizing the status of people here, basically making them legal, bringing them under labor law, all of that. How could you really be against that? It's got to be good for everybody to do that. The Republican Party has a problem. The leadership understands that they cannot, they're doomed if they are only the party of old white people, to put it bluntly. The problem is their base is old white people. And so the rank and file, which answers to the base, which doesn't fear Democrats but does fear Tea Party challengers, may not go along. But this is clearly, there's no possible reason not to do this.
And the business community getting behind it as well.
Yes, and it's important to remember some facts about the attempted immigration reform in 2007. The guest worker program amendment, which failed and which killed immigration reform, was voted down by Democrats, Barack Obama among them. Barbara Boxer of California, a state that desperately needs a guest worker program. Why? Because organized labor was against it. I also am very optimistic about this bill. It is carefully crafted to acknowledge that we have to deal with the people who are here today, but also that we have to actually reform our legal immigration system so that we have a guest worker program that works, so that we have border security, so that we don't have 16 different visa programs and many of the people who are here illegally actually have overstayed their visas. In other words, we have a host of problems that have to be solved. This Gang of Eight bill, I think, is a first step toward solving them. What I hope is that while it's easy to always blame the Republicans, I hope that the Democrats and organized labor will not push their opposition to a guest worker program so far that they kill the whole deal, because they did it last time.
And now let me say something. It is a myth that the border is not secure. I mean, President Barack Obama has deported more than 1.5 million undocumented immigrants. There are more agents than ever before. Apprehensions has gone down. The number of undocumented immigrants has gone from 12 million to 11 million. And the cities along the border with Mexico are among the safest. So if you wait to do something until the border is completely secure, I don't know exactly what are you talking about.
The last word.
Yeah, well, actually, we have a couple problems here. Number one, 40% of all the people who are in this country illegally didn't cross a border. They came here on a visa that expired and disappeared into our system, and we can't track them. Number two, one thing that we're missing in this whole debate about illegal immigration is the cost. Heritage Foundation did a study that after the taxes are realized by our country, by those who are here illegally, it will cost us $2.6 trillion in Medicare, Social Security.
No, we've done those numbers.
The Congressional Budget Office.
It's pocket. The net cost of all of this is pocket change.
No,
it's really a very small number.
Not when there's programs.
This is going to be politics at its best. If people can forge a compromise that will keep Democrats on board and Republicans on board, this will get done. But if President Barack Obama pushes too hard to win and cause the other party to lose, this thing is going to come apart.
They're going to contribute much more to the economy than when they take away.
Well,
the Congressional Budget Office is saying that they're
CBO has a net positive.
They only go out 10 years. CBO only goes out 10 years.
CBO goes out 20.
And they
$25 billion in 10 years.
Because
they're contributing $25 billion in 10 years.
Because here's the thing. Because so many will be at the lower end of the economic ladder, what they will be paying in taxes, because they will be earning less, and what they'll be taking out in programs that are already going broke, we're not going to be able to afford it. Number two, the people who are hurt the most by this,
the CBO is saying that they're going to contribute much more.
And remember, what we're doing is we're taking people who are here and we're going to be bringing them into the system, which mostly means that they will be paying taxes.
Why are we talking about those who are here legally? How about the legal immigrants? How about the legal Hispanic immigrants? Do you think it's good for them to have 20 or 15 million people compete for their jobs when they came to America for an opportunity?
It is why we also have to solve
creating new jobs too.
Reforming the legal immigration system is on the table in the Gang of Eight bill. It has to be on the table. Business support requires, just common sense requires, that we not simply say the 11 million people who are here illegally, okay, we'll deal with your status, and we're not going to fix any of these other problems.
We have to fix those problems. We do have to take a break. We'll be back.